Hello YouTube, Shapeworks here with a deck profile for Magician Odd Eyes. It's the deck that I used for the Orlando, Florida ARG. I went 5-3, and round 1 I faced against Pepe. Only reason why I lost that matchup is because game 2 and 3 I absolutely just opened up the weirdest hands. Like it was one MST, two side blockers, terraforming, and Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. It was weird hands like that. Matter of fact, that was the hand that I started off with in game 3 of round 1. And the other two times that I lost was due just because of Burning Abyss running both Mistake and Anti-Spell Fragrance. So I'm actually pretty happy how I didn't lose because of my own mistakes or my opponent outplayed me. It's because of floodgates and stuff that was out of my control, like bricking. So anyway, let's just get on with the deck profile. Pretty standard build, really. It's 3 Dragon Pit Magician, your best high scale and your way to get rid of pesky back row and floodgates that don't prevent you from playing pendulums. So 3 Dragon Pit. I play the 1 Dragon Pulse just because there are some people still citing Vanity's Fiend, Majesty's Fiend, so I run just 1. Plus it's a good level 4 pendulum that you could grab with anything and use it for a rank 4, so it's just plus it's a good free discard for Pit, so plus the deck doesn't have that many good discard fodder, so anyway. And your best pendulum in the deck, Wisdom Eye Magician, because it gets out all your scales and you could just circulate them in and out and makes you always have a scale, because if you have another scale already set and you have this in hand, you can just reactivate your scale, so it's a constant annoyance for the opponent because you always have that scale going. So 3 Wisdom Eye. And here's Oath Dragon. He's your recycle pendulum. If he's in this scale, his effect is if you have another magician in your other scale, you get to add 1 magician or Odd Eyes monster in your face up in your extra deck and add it back to your hand, and when he's normal or special summoned, it's the same thing, but instead of extra deck, it's the graveyard. So he's your best low scale in my opinion. Run 3 of him. Best searcher in the deck, 3 Perform Pal Skull Crobat Joker. He searches out pretty much anything if it's an Odd Eyes, a Magician, or a Perform Pal. So he searches out pretty much all your combos. And something that happened in the tournament is I saw him only twice. It was really ridiculous how I never opened up with him or I never drew into him, except for like the 2 times that I did, and those 2 times my opponent always had Effect Veiler. So it was pretty annoying, but anyway, yeah, he's your best searcher of the deck. And here's your key card for all your combos for the deck. Odd Eyes Pendulum. I see a lot of people running only 2. I don't understand that because he's your combo key. Because he's your go-to card for rank 7s, for your level 7 synchros with Noble Dragon Magician. And if you really need to, you could put him in the scale Pendulum Zone, then at the end phase search out Wisdom Eye or whatever pendulum that you need that's under 1500 attack. Also the double damage, I'll get to the combos after the video and tell you about all the different combos, and a really dumb combo that I came up with the fly during a matchup against Cosmo. So there's something that you get to look forward to. So 3 Odd Eyes. And my personal favorite card of the deck, my MVP. I play 3 Magic Spectre Unicorn Kieran. He's just really good. Anytime I face up against any deck, he was the one that won me the match every time that I've seen him, just because they can't negate the effect, they can't destroy him with a card effect, they can't get rid of him, so they have to deal with him in some way. I actually faced 2 Pepe players, and they kept saying, oh, I can handle Kieran. Kieran isn't a problem, so they would successfully bait it out, but by them baiting it out, they left themselves with no other options. That may just be a player error or they're just bad, but it just goes to show that this card is just really annoying to deal with because it's just a constant compulse during either player's turn, and if you combo it up with Skull Crobat Joker, you just constantly have a search ability throughout the entire deck, and just any deck that I've faced with this, they just more than likely lose because of it. And the next card I play is Jinky. Jinky is the key card to that combo I'm going to tell you about that won me a really close match against Cosmo that I actually almost lost if it wasn't for him. And it doesn't do with his monster effect. It does the combo that I'm going to tell you at the end of the deck profile is due to his pendulum effect, which I'll get to eventually. But yeah, for the main reason I use him is because he's level 7 and he is a constant light negation effect if you face off against light based decks other than Cosmo, because they can just chain on top of it. But anyway, yeah, one Jinky. I also played 2 Noble Dragons because she or he is your best discard fodder for Pendulum Call and Dragon Pit Magician or Dragon Pulse, because the effect to summon herself could also be activated in the graveyard. So I like to run 2 just because getting to your synchro plays is one of your top priorities for this deck, because synchro play into exceeding is just one of your best plays of the deck. So 2 of those. And here's a card that I got right before the tournament, which I was glad that I was able to get these from the vendor. 2 Spanish Apex Avians, or Miss Valley Apex Avians. Every time I saw this, I never lost. When I would watch other people do their deck profile and they would mention this and they would say that they never lost because of it, I didn't actually believe them. But after playing the card for myself, every time I saw it, I won the game. It's actually a really good card. Like, it's just too good. I played 2 of it. I would actually play a third, but I couldn't get a third. But yeah, Apex Avian is just really good. And that's it for the monster line. I believe it's like 25 monsters or something like that. Something close to that, give or take. Alright, so on to the spells. I play the obvious 3 Pendulum Call. I play 2 Sky Iris and 1 Terraforming, just because I feel like if you run just 3 Sky Iris or 3 Sky Iris and 1 Terraforming, that gets really cloggy. Plus, you need room for other cards. So I just feel like this is a good balancing thing that I got from my friend Rico the Fox Kid. So I also play 1 Odd Eyes Fusion. This actually won me quite a few games in the ARG, because I would just search out with Sky Iris. I would play it, then I would summon Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, bounce their biggest monster and attack. Then I have a constant negation that they have to deal with. And since I'm smart this game, I know what to negate and when not to negate. Like, there are those times that people go Castel and purposely target Vortex, so I have to negate and they can do their plays, but those are rare circumstances. But this card has won me like 3 games at the tour. Yeah, 3 games and 1 match at the ARG, just because this card allowed me easy access to Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. I also play 1 Summoner's Art because you want to see your high skill of Dragon Pit Magician as soon as possible, and this just makes it more consistent. Pretty much the same idea. Why, even though Clover players had a million ways to get out Scout, they still played like Summoner's Art because it was their best high skill and their best card in the deck, or one of their best cards. So I just played 1. I'm actually thinking about putting it up to 2, just because whenever I saw this and not this or Dragon Pit, it did get cloggy like people said, but it worked out in the end. But yeah, I'm actually going to bump this up to 2 once I get a second. And I main deck 2 MSTs just because back row heavy decks are a thing. And I was originally playing 3 MST main deck, but that was really cloggy, so I just moved the third to the side deck, and I'll get to my side deck eventually. Now the spells, I just play 3 Upstart Goblin, 3 Wavering Eyes, and I freaking hate this card. I never want this thing to be a thing because even though it did win me quite a few games in the tournament, just in the past, I've always lost due to this card, and I would put my opponent in the best possible position, and my opponent would just top deck Wavering Eyes and just kill me just because Wavering Eyes is that powerful of a card. So I want this card to get banned, but that's just my own personal opinion. But yeah, that's the last 6 cards of the deck. 3 upstarts, 3 wavering. Pretty card deck. Pretty standard build, I would say. And on for the extra deck, I play 1 Odd Eyes Rebellion, 1 number 11 Big Eye, 1 Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon, 1 Odd Eyes Absolute, or 2 Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon. Those are my rank 7s. This card actually won me a game against Pepe because they couldn't kill me and they left an Ignister Dragon Slayer on board, so I just took his Ignister and he skipped off as soon as I took it. So Big Eye won me that game. And for my rank 6s, I play 1 Naruto. Never used it, but there are still those situations where it's still useful. And my favorite rank 6, because right when it's Exceed summoned, it reduces the attack of all my opponent's monsters to 0, and to combo that up with Odd Eyes, which does double damage through monsters, this is just perfect game because he has 3,000 attack, so he's my favorite rank 6 of the deck. He actually won me a few games. That's it for my Exceed, well, my 6 and 7 rank seed. Now on to Synchros. I play 2 Meteor Burst. This also won me a game against Pepe and Cosmo, because when I attack they couldn't activate Damage Juggler or their other magician effects. It's just a really good blowout card against Cosmo, especially against Cosmo, and kind of a blowout card against Pepe, so this actually won me a few games actually. Clearwing Synchro Dragon. I really love this card because it shuts down Psyframe Omega. Yeah, it shuts down Psyframe Omega because he negates the effect, and he would just gain that monster's attack. So that shuts them down. Also, when I faced the mirror match, they had their own Kieran, so I synchroed into Clearwing, which I wasn't expecting because nobody plays this card, which I don't understand why. That just shut down his Kieran play because obviously I wouldn't get rid of the monster and I wouldn't destroy it, but it still negates the effect regardless, so he just stopped Kieran right there. So I only run 2 or 3 synchros, and Clearing is by far my favorite synchro of the deck. And for my rank 4s that I play, 1 Magispector Paladin, just because he's your best first turn Exceed play if you need to get some like Kieran or a certain play like Odd Eyes or something to your hand. He's just a good first turn Exceed if you're going first. Castell, obvious. Paladin, never used it, but there are still situations where I feel like it would be useful just because of the double attack plus to combo it up with Absolute to allow Absolute to attack twice, then get destroyed, then Absolute effect to summon another Odd Eyes from the extra deck. That combo is just really good. Abyss Dweller, never used it. I feel like I don't feel like I'm just going to switch it out for something else. I'm not sure. I feel like when Cyber Dragon Infinity comes out, I'll be taking this out especially to make room for the Pleiades, Infinity, and the other Cyber Dragon that I can't remember the other rank 5. But anyway, for the last card in the extra deck, I run the 1 Absolute, the Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, I mean. That's it for the extra deck. pretty solid extra deck, I feel. And for my side deck, which actually didn't win me like any games except for allowing me to 2-0 a Magispector deck in round 8, which I sided in not that many cards, but times I did side in quite a few, and I would never see those cards. And when I did, I would just brick. It was just like the weirdest thing. So I didn't really win because of my side. I won just because of my pure deck. So anyway, I sided in 3 Denko Sagas just because I did run into I was expecting there to be a lot of back row heavy decks, because when I went to the Philadelphia Regional, I noticed that there were a lot of Burning Abyss players there and Satellar Knight players there, and a few Cosmo players that ran like 10 traps that were all like Time Space or Grand Horn or something. And of course, there's the Magispector Pendulum decks that just rely on their back row a lot. So 3 Dunko Saka, 3 Flying Sea. I did side these in against the both of the Burning Abyss players that I faced, and I didn't see a single one. And I bet if I did see at least one of these, I could have actually won, even if they had Mistake or Anti-Spell Fragrance, because this card just shuts down Burning Abyss like none other card. So I ran 3 Flying Sea. Also, the other reason why I played Flying Sea is because Pepe, all their plays consist of either synchroing for a level 8. They run no level 7s synchros, so all their best plays are level 8 synchros, and majority of their plays to get to the synchros are exceed plays, so this just shuts them down. So that's the other reason why I play Flying Sea. Also, since the Teller Knight's still a thing, Flying Sea. Chaos Hunter for... I played 3 Chaos Hunter for Infernoid, which I didn't face, and the 2 Cosmo players that I faced. And again, I didn't see him, even though I did side him in. But if I did, it would have just made the match just a blowout, because they couldn't get rid of him, even if they did have their own anti-spell fragrance, because a lot of people at my tour at this ARG were running anti-spell fragrance, like everyone was. Even some of the Pepe players sided in anti-spell fragrance. But anyway, yeah. I used him instead of Iron Wall just because I noticed Cosmo and Infernoid can get rid of Iron Wall because of MST or Slip Rider or Castell or something. But with Chaos Hunter, they can't really do that because they have to... No. Sorry. Yeah, they can't really handle a monster version because they have to banish in order to summon their Dark Destroyer or any of their big plays. So, 3 Chaos Hunter. I played 2 Psyframe just because Naturia Beast, Anti-Spell Fragrance, and Mistake all were big problems that I noticed at the Philadelphia Regional. So I played 2 of these, and even though I would side them in when my opponent had obviously sided in those 3 cards, I never saw it, so I would just lose. it. It was just really weird. I just never saw any of my sides, even though I did side, obviously. And for the final 4 cards of the side deck, there's the 3rd MST, just because back row, and 3 Grand Horn. Again, I never saw it for some reason. I just had the weirdest luck about side deck. But yeah, I side this in for the Mirror, or any Pendulum deck, or any deck that used Synchro or anything really, because it's just a really good kind of a blowout card at times. Ends their phase, but anyway, that's it for the deck. And here's the combo that I thought of on the fly that was actually really impressive. It might even be that secretive. It's just something that I thought of on the fly and that I really liked. And it consisted of Odd Eyes Absolute, Red Eyes, Flare Metal Dragon, and these with Jinky. Where are you? Yeah, and Jinky. So pretty much what you do is do the typical synchro play, grab your Dragon Pit from the scale overlay for this. Attack negate one of the attacks. Resummon that. Do a lot of damage. And make sure you have Jinky in your scale. So after you attack, you just use Jinky effect to make that a level. Overlay with it into that because you already did a lot of damage, so this just puts more pressure on the board. And the other combo that I did with it once against Cosmo that actually won me the game was since he was already below 3,000 life points, I didn't even bother attacking. I attacked just to get him back on the field. Then I just went directly to main phase 2. Did the same, make that a level overlay. And actually dealt 3,000, or yeah, he had 3 Cosmos on field, and dealt 3,000 points of damage to him because of his effect when he has a Dragon type Exceed monster as a material for his summon. So plus his 3,000 or his 3 attack also really helped. So that was just like the really good combo that I thought of on the fly. I'm not sure if that was just like really well known or if that was an obvious thing, but I just thought that was an amazing play that I just came up with. But anyway, this video is really long. I didn't mean for that to happen. I was just happy about the build, and I went 5 wins, 3 losses, only lost to Anti-Smoke Fragrance and Random Brickhand. But yeah, anyway, Shepard's out.